This is the Paycheck to Daycheck Reselling Podcast.
I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley.
Together, we have been making money online collectively for over 10 years.
Our mission is to help you start, learn, and grow a reselling business and to inspire you to turn your paycheck into a daycheck.
The world is changing, and we want to help you change with it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Paycheck to Daycheck podcast. This is Ashley speaking. If you're not watching, I am here by myself for another mindset episode for you guys. This one is going to be all about how you can better operate at your full potential. So my question for you guys is, have you ever had one of those days where you knew you could have done more or done better or have made better decisions? It's just one of those, I don't know, kind of meh or like off days. This happens to me sometimes. And when it does, and I'm thinking about the day at the end of the day and I'm reviewing what I did or didn't do, it makes me frustrated and kind of annoyed with myself, to be honest. Like, I know I could do better. I know I could have done better, but I just couldn't get myself out of the funk, basically, quick enough so I could, save the day, basically. So many years back, when I started working on my self-development and learning and doing research, I found this little trick that it just made so much sense to me. And I want to share that with you. Really, it's just a question that I ask myself, and then I act on the answer to that question. Now, the question does change from time to time slightly, but the basis of the question stays the same. The question is, what would the highest version of myself be doing right now? You can reformat that question, of course, like I said, to sort of fit your current situation. For instance, if I was a full-time reseller, how would I handle this? Or if I was a full-time reseller, what would I be doing right now? The question sort of gets you thinking about the version of yourself that you want to become, and then act as if you already are that person. So it's kind of a little hack on getting to where you want to be. So then the actions that you take based on the answer to this question will eventually assist you in becoming the version of yourself that you want to be, like I said before. So basically, when I was a part-time reseller and I had a full-time job, I really did not want to be working in the car business anymore. I know I've talked about this a couple times before. Obviously I couldn't really do this at work because I was working in the car business. But when I did have time, when I was, when it was the weekend or it was my day off or something, I would ask myself, if I was a full-time reseller, what would I be doing right now? And it wasn't watching TV. It wasn't scrolling through social media for hours on end. That was never the answer, believe it or not. It was always like, I guess I will go thrifting, or I guess I will go do some retail arbitrage, or I guess, I really need to get some listings up because if I was a full-time reseller, that's what I would be doing right now. This doesn't just relate, to reselling or to your job or goals related to that, for that matter. I ask myself this question all the time in all different areas of my life. It's helped me shape the person that I am right now. Sometimes, I act without thinking first, like thinking it through first. And this question has definitely helped me to slow down and act in a way that will help me become the person that I want to show up as. I even used it when I was in the car business, actually. So this was a little bit before I started doing reselling. But when I moved back out to this area, it was for a sales manager position. I had been out of the car business for, I think, about 6 months. And then, my boyfriend now, he sent me a text message and asked me if I would be interested in a sales manager position at a dealership that he worked within that group, but he didn't work at that specific dealership. He just knew that the store next to them needed a sales manager. So I said, yeah, of course I would be interested. And I came out and I interviewed, and that was that. I ended up getting the job and moving back out here. But I wanted to move up within the company. So, I had my sights set on becoming the general manager of a store one day. It didn't necessarily have to be that store, but I wanted to be the general manager of a dealership. So I would ask myself all the time, how would I show up if I was the GM of this store? What would I be doing right now? And, again, it wasn't walking in, late or even like 2 minutes before the Saturday morning meeting started. I was there early. I was there early every day. I was never late. I always made sure. And like, just because I was early didn't mean that I left my house a little bit earlier. I woke up earlier. I made sure I was ready earlier. I was prepared. I made sure I had breakfast so I didn't have to leave or, get in on the breakfast order after the meeting. I could like step into my day fully prepared and ready to rock and roll like a general manager would. So it let me be more intentional with my time as well. And I put more effort into each customer on top of that. So it wasn't just, I was, like I said, a sales manager. So I was writing deals all the time, desking deals. And it wasn't just powering through writing all these deals. Like on a Saturday, for example, you're usually pretty busy in the car business. Instead, I would make sure that I took intentional time to go out and leave the desk and go and talk to each specific customer with the salesperson. So they were, seeing my face, they were building a relationship with me. And that went a lot further than just me sitting behind my desk at my computer desking deals all the time. Like that did result in some sales, but when I actually got up and made more of an effort to put myself in front of these customers and help the salesperson close, that resulted in far more sales. And it was just a little something that I picked up on our general manager at the time doing. He wouldn't just sit there and do his job. He went above and beyond because he was the GM. And I mean, it was his store. Like he had to do that to have success. So I'm like, well, if it works for him, I'm going to start doing the same thing because, if I imitate his success, I will likely have success too. Another thing that I really like about this tip is that asking the question helps you identify areas that you might be lacking into. If we use it, let's go back to reselling. So how would I be showing up every day in my business as a reseller if I was making, 6 figures a year? That is going to highlight some things that you might not be doing, or you might be doing wrong, or you might not be doing enough of. So, again, that wouldn't be rolling out of bed at 11 a.m., having, an unproductive morning, maybe, slump your way to the thrift store for 30 minutes and come home and watch TV for the rest of the day. That isn't what a 6-figure earner would be doing as a reseller. More likely, they would have a plan in place. They would have a very productive morning. They would have put a plan in place more likely the night before than that morning, actually. It's more about thinking, how would I act if I already had this? And then acting as if you do. So if you ask that question of yourself, what would it look like for you? Maybe you're spending too much time on social media. Maybe you need to find another source of inventory, but you've been putting it off. Maybe you need to liquidate some of your stale inventory and it's burdening you. This happens, you have to be able to make these hard decisions, and asking the question of yourself helps you highlight, like I said, the tough things that need to get done, or the tough decisions that need to be made. And those are the things that might be holding you back, and that might unlock the next step to your success. So I can't remember exactly where I heard about this for the first time. I think it was a mentor that I had a long time ago. And I think it was Katrina Ruth on Facebook. She has since shifted slightly in like her offerings and teachings. I'm not sure she does like one-on-one anymore. I'm not really sure what she's offering anymore. But I do know that her teachings have, changed. Her mentorship has changed slightly. And it might not be for everyone at this point. Back when I found her, I think it was about a year before I moved back here for that job in the car business as a sales manager, maybe even 2 years. And I was really leaning heavily into like what she was offering because it made a lot of sense to me. I also have 2 books that I can recommend that you can read to sort of look into this idea more. This whole thing with like asking the question of what would I be doing if I was a general manager, if I did have a full-time reselling business, if I had a warehouse, and sold, millions of dollars on Amazon. Asking this question is really just scratching the surface of a bigger idea, which I would really like to dive deeper into in future mindset episodes. I'm just trying to figure out the best way of doing it. So there are 2 books that I'll let you guys know about. The first one is, and this is going to sound a little bit weird if you're a guy listening to this, but you can sort of reframe the title. The title is The Audacity to Be Queen, and the author is Gina DeVee. So you could think of it like the audacity to be king, if you would like. The concepts are the same. They apply to men as well as women. And the second one is The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. So I've read the first book twice, and I'm about halfway through The Alter Ego Effect right now. I'm listening to it on Audible. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we do a book club or something. Maybe Alter Ego Effect could be the first one, but Todd Herman worked with tons and tons of professional athletes on creating an alter ego for people who had like anxiety, performance anxiety, stuff like that. And it is it's absolutely an incredible read. The way that our mind works, you guys, it's baffling. The way that we can reframe our mindset just by telling ourselves certain things or asking ourselves specific questions. It is truly remarkable. We have the ability to change our lives just by the thoughts that we think, and then based on those thoughts, the actions that we take. So I hope that you guys got a little bit of value from this episode. Not even I hope that this episode really helps, honestly, because this is one of the things that completely transformed my life. When I started asking myself this question, or a version of this question every single day, honestly, that is when things started happening for me. And I might not have ended up a general manager of a dealership, and thank goodness I didn't. I probably wouldn't have been very successful at it, because it's deep down not what I really wanted to be doing. I was in the car business, and I was stuck in the wheel of selling cars and in the wheel of, the car business itself. And when I was able to kind of get myself out of it, I realized that yes, I loved it at certain times, but it was actually really detrimental to me as a person, like my mental health, and my physical health as well. So I'm glad that it didn't work out the way that I thought that I wanted it to. But even asking that question of myself, what would I be doing now as a GM? It helped me create success for myself as a sales manager and make a ton of money and form a ton of very valuable relationships that I still have to this day, and I don't regret that for 1 second. So now, using that question in reselling, it's helped me. I ask myself this every single day. What do I need to do today to become a multiple 6-figure a year earner as a full-time reseller? There are certain tasks that I'm doing now, and I know that I'm doing them, and I need to outsource them. And that's a tough decision to make. It's tough to let go. But I know that when I do take that step, and the answer is always the same for me. I know I need to outsource listing. I know I need to do it. And it's just a really tough step for me to take for some reason. But as soon as I do that, I know that my business is going to grow leaps and bounds. So stick with me. I hope that this helps you guys. I would love to know, if you're watching on YouTube, I would love to know the answer to this question for you. If you are brave enough to share it with us, I would absolutely love that. It would make my whole entire day. So answer the question in the YouTube comments below. If you're listening, head over to YouTube and let us know in the comments below for this episode. That would like make me so stinking happy. All right, signing off. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care. All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Paycheck to Daycheck Reselling Podcast.
Anything we mentioned in this episode will be linked down below in the show notes or description down below.
Be sure to share this episode with anyone you think it will help, and follow us on social media at P2D Podcast.
Thanks again for listening. Keep working towards that Daycheck.